Joining us from down the shore is our buddy Mike Gill, who just got up. I can tell that by looking at him. He's fixing himself. He's getting in. He's ready to rock and roll, and he's going to tell us what T-shirt he's got on. All right, Gill, lean back, lean back. I think someone once sang a song like that. What are we rocking today?
Atlantic my baseball team.
Okay. That's a team you coach?
Yeah, we just got knocked out of the regionals.
So is the season done, or is this?
Season's over, man.
Really?
Season's over.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know how many people follow the Little League World Series, but the team that knocked us out was the Hollidaysburg team that went to the Little League World Series last year. That team was legit. They were really good. When you lose a team, sometimes you're like, we shouldn't have lost against that team. No, that team was really good. They were good.
Now, what team did you get? What's the name of the squad that you got beat by?
Last year, they were in the Little League World Series. They were Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. Now, at the next level, they're Altoona, PA. So they're like the two towns kind of combined together at the next age group. So if people who watch the Little League, there's a lot of people out here who are like diehard Little League World Series viewers. And people from our region will remember because they were the Mid-Atlantic representative. So they were Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania was who they were.
All right. So you're one up from Little League is your age designation. What do they call? What's the name?
So we're Babe Ruth, 13 years old. So right, when you're finished Little League, when you're done being 12, you either go to Senior League or Babe Ruth or Pony League, maybe, I guess. I don't know.
You know what? And shoot, talk about trying to remember. I barely remember this. Little League is up to age 12. They had a 1-year breakout in between for where I grew up playing between Little League and Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was 14, 15, 16. 13 was called Graduate League. I guess you graduated from the Little League, but it was all just 13. It was the only league I ever played in that was designated for 1-year kids.
Yeah, so 13. Like Babe Ruth and Cal Ripken are one organization, and they're the competitors to Little League and Senior League.
What's Senior?
Senior League is the 13, 14, 15-year-old after you're done Little League.
Okay, so they have the same thing, just different names for it in different areas of the country. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, enough for your baseball talk, but we do appreciate you sharing the shirt with us. The Eagles season is underway. How do I know? They all showed up yesterday in South Philadelphia. The offensive linemen in matching Eagle green overalls. Gotta love the fact that those guys sang together. And I saw pictures of some. Saw a picture of my Lotta. He fills out a pair of overalls pretty well, as big as he is. Did Mr. Steen get the overalls? If you know, he's a newbie. He's not one of the boys just yet. He spent a couple of OTA practices with him. Did they outfit their newest potential starter?
I didn't see or don't know, but Steen is going to be an interesting story, as we know, Jody. We've been talking about when you have a show like yours every day that runs 365 through the offseason, you know that the fans are fanatical and people care about who the right guard on this team is going to be. And they care who the second guard on this team is going to be. And it's a pretty important battle, right? Because whether he has his own pair of overalls or not, whoever takes over for Isaac Seumalo has got big shoes to fill. And I don't think we realize how good Seumalo has been, even though when you have other guys who are all-time greats on the same line, you get really overshadowed. But Seumalo was a really solid player, versatile player, and I think we're just almost taking for granted that the next guy is going to step in there and be as good, if not better, than Isaac Seumalo. I think it's interesting. Dennis Kelly, when they signed him over the weekend, other than the fact that, he plays both tackle positions. People forget he played right guard for a couple games here for Chip Kelly, too. I'm not saying he's going to be involved in the right guard battle, but does that make Driscoll a better candidate for this job now? Because Driscoll, you kind of looked at as like, he's going to be the swing tackle. They don't want him as the guard. But now I have a veteran swing tackle. Kelly can play both those spots. So do they say, Driscoll, you have a pair of overalls and you get to be in the battle here for the right guard spots? Does that make him a better candidate for that job? So I definitely think that we're starting off with a really interesting storyline right in that spot?
I've asked it a couple times as a hypothetical, and I'm comparing two players. You could absolutely make it three. We've had a couple of guys on where I say if Steen and Jurgens play to a draw, that they both do the job, both look good. One doesn't look significantly better than the other one significantly lesser than the other. They're damn close on a day in, day out basis. Who makes the call, and what do you think the call is based on? And everybody says it's Stoutland, not the head coach, not Howie Roseman. They're all going to bow to Stoutland and go, what do you think? Okay, that's what we go with. I think with the signing of Dennis Kelly, yeah, you can put Driscoll in that mix. I don't think he's any closer to getting the job. I don't think he has to blatantly outperform him. I think he gets a fair share to compete with him. So I'll ask you, Mike Gill, is it Stoutland? And what do you think he's going to base that decision on, who the starting right guard is?
Oh, I definitely think Stoutland has the biggest, the loudest megaphone in that room when making that decision. That would be number one. Two, man, this is tough because Jurgens, you drafted him to kind of be the heir apparent to Kelsey. But that was the same thing with Lane Johnson, or excuse me, Landon Dickerson. You drafted Landon Dickerson to be the heir apparent.
You go all the way back to Isaac. They drafted Isaac to be the guy to take Kelsey's spot. Oops, let's move him to guard. Then they draft Dickerson. He's going to take Kelsey's spot. Oops, let's move him to guard. So they're running out of guard spots to plug guys in. But now, sure enough, they got a guard opening. Will Jurgens be that guy, or do they want to have him ready to jump in at center in case Kelsey suffers an injury?
Right. And that's the thing is that I was trying to, I'll get to is like they drafted these guys to be the next guy there. So if they're starting in the other position, one area where I think that Jurgens has the uphill battle is if there's an injury that occurs, generally from the past, Stoutland doesn't like to move two positions. If there's a guy hurt, we say, well, why don't you move this guy from left tackle over to right tackle and then just put somebody else there? No. I don't like to move two guys. He only wants to make one move. So that would tell me Steen is probably the favorite here for that reason. So that if somebody else got hurt and say it was Kelsey, that they wouldn't have to move Jurgens from left guard back to center. And then that means two guys are getting changed as opposed to just one guy. So I'm thinking Steen is the guy that would be the favorite in this spot. And Jurgens would be the backup center. And, if somebody else got hurt, he could go play guard. And then Driscoll would be the odd man out in that battle as well. So Steen would be the guy that I think Stoutland will have the loudest voice for.
Right. And I'll say this about Stoutland, which means I'm saying it about the Eagles in general. May the best man win. Even though I think they have the future of the organization in mind when they make some decisions, not Gannon last year or his linebacker coach, Nick Rallis, when he refused to get Nakobe Dean on the field. I'm still steamed about that one. But the Stoutland gets it. The Eagles overall get it. We need to make the best decision today. We want to keep the future in mind, but if we're affecting today just because we're too worried about the future, we're not going to do that. Stoutland doesn't do that. So even though the way you laid it out, I agree with you. For the future of the Eagles, Steen winning the job is absolutely the best thing. That's what they want to see happen. But he's got to actually go out and win the job because Stoutland won't give it to him just because it makes the Ducks line up in the row the best.
Yeah, because at some point you're going to have three centers on the field. I mean, if Jurgens ends up winning that, you've got your backup center, your third center in Landon Dickerson. I mean, Landon Dickerson really was supposed to be the guy, and he was so good at left guard that they had to keep him there and had to go get Jurgens. Jurgens is only here because Dickerson is playing left guard, essentially, right? So, yeah, I agree with that. But listen, if Tyler Steen can't handle the position, if he's not good enough, then you've got to go to Jurgens and hope that we're just assuming both of these guys. Jurgens has never played right guard.
Right.
They're just assuming that he can go in there and handle it.
They're both playing at least in part out of position, but that's why I have camp. Oh, but then again, the Eagles don't do that much at camp. So it'll be very interesting to see how it plays. All right, a specific Eagle player I want to ask you about because in the last week or so, I've seen this player being grouped in two different groups. One was breakout, who's going to step up, hasn't reached a certain level prior to in the year. And this is the year he gets the wow factor included into his game. Or which is a possible regression player that had this season that he had or the last couple of seasons here in Philadelphia. And you might want to be careful because might not be as good as has been in previous seasons. And I've seen this player on both of those two lists, which are basically diametrically opposite of each other. So you tell me, is Kenny Gainwell better looked at as a potential breakout player or a potential, he might not do as much as he's done previously here in Philadelphia? Which you think is more likely?
I think he could be a breakout player. The problem is I don't know how that happens. You know what I'm saying? Unless somebody got hurt, do they value him, and is he higher on the depth chart? Does he get enough touches to supplant Swift and or Penny? I think both of those guys will probably be, even if all three, in years past, we've seen the team, going back to the three-headed monster, Deuce and Westbrook, and who was the third guy in that
Terrell Buckhalter.
Buckhalter, there you go. They've done it before, but it's hard to be the breakout guy when you are 2 or 3 or even 1 in the three-headed monster. I just don't know how and do they put him more in the pass game? John has talked a lot about the running backs not catching the ball in this offense. So that's not an area where I think he breaks out. So right. I like Gainwell's game and the possibility of his talent making him a breakout player. I just don't know if opportunity allows him to, quote, break out.
And here's the reason why I think it's, sorry, Eagle fans, I think it's got more of a chance to go regression than breakout. John and I talked about this yesterday, and he went back, has been checking his Sirianni quotes on any of the off-season accessibilities they had with the coach. He thinks that the Eagles are kind of hoping, of the group of running backs that they have, someone grabs a Miles Sanders role. That when they go by running back by committee, it's not going to be 33% for one, 33% for the other, 33% for the third, that it's not going to be well distributed, that someone is going to come to the forefront and they're going to get more than anybody else. Not as much as Miles did last year, but it will be certainly more so than evenly split. I don't think Gainwell will be that guy. I think there's a better chance that Swift is that guy. I think there's a better chance that Penny is that guy. We all know if he stays healthy is the key. I don't see Kenny Gainwell being the guy who gets most carries on this team this year. So if that's going to be the case, the other two are going to be playing. You're right. I just think Gainwell's going to get the ball less than he did even last year.
Yeah, and I would imagine, and I know that everybody just says, well, he's never been healthy. If Rashad Penny's healthy, I don't know how he's not the guy. That guy is a beast. I mean, he's a difference maker. I mean, if you have a healthy Rashad Penny, you've got a difference-making running back. You've got a big guy who can move the chains, who can run with speed and veracity. The problem with him is he's been hurt because he's a big guy, he delivers punishment, and he's had just a multitude of different injuries. But, man, if he's healthy, I have a hard time being the coach saying, that's not the guy I want on the field. I mean, he is a tremendous asset if he can keep him healthy. And then you have Swift, the thing with Swift is he a better receiving back than he is a running back? I think that's just something that they would probably find out in these camps. And then maybe that's how Gainwell could get higher up, a bigger involvement if Gainwell's a better blocker than Swift is. That's key in this kind of offense. So I guess it would be, if Penny's healthy, to me, he would be more of the guy. And then who is more advanced, Swift or Gainwell as a runner as opposed to a receiver?
We'll see how it shakes out starting today with the Eagles' first activities.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. Before I let you run today, I do want to ask you about a particular individual's predictions for this upcoming season, because we're all in the prediction business. You understand this, Gill, as a host of a radio show. You got to be ready to put your opinions out there and then stand by them, defend them, and explain why you are going to break down something before it ever happens. Nate Davis, writer for USA Today. I've never had him on a show, one of my shows as a guest, but he's a good NFL writer. I read him and or his clips from time to time on USA Today. Are you a fan of Nate Davis?
I'm familiar with his work. Yes. Right. I have not had him on my show either.
You haven't either. All right. I got to try and get Nate. After what I read today, I got to get Nate Davis on my show, maybe this weekend on CBS Sports Radio. He broke down not only who's going to win what, how many games each team is going to win in the NFL before they ever open up camp, or at least before the Eagles did. Most of the teams did, but some opened up earlier. They posted this yesterday. He runs down the entire league, number of wins, where they finish up, who's going to make the playoffs and the like. I'll go through it very, very quickly for you. NFC East, Eagles win 12-5, Cowboys 9-8. And I'm one of those who believe the Cowboys are a little overrated coming into the season. I think they'll win more than 9 games, but I too have a big division in the division between the Eagles and the Cowboys, and that whole 18-year nobody's won the division 2 years in a row thing going by the board as the Eagles win it. Commanders 7-10, Giants 6-11. Johnny Mack is on board with this one because he thought the Giants were a little bit of a fraud team last year. I thought they earned what they did, but I think they're coming back to the pack. Yeah, I know they got Saquon signed yesterday, but he's got the Giants finishing in 4th and last place at 6-11. Do you think the Giants can be that bad?
Man, I do think the Giants were a little bit of a byproduct of the NFC East schedule last year. That everybody in the division had a schedule that allowed them to maybe play over their heads. I think the Giants are just a solid team, though. I don't know that they're one of those teams that's going to be a dumpster fire. They're not a hat tip to Jimmy Kempski. I don't know that we're getting some dumpster fire team. I think they're just solid. They're one of those teams that they're just a pain in the butt to play. I like Washington's quarterback. I do like Hal. I think he's going to surprise people. I'm pretty intrigued by what Bieniemy will get to his first chance to kind of just be the guy there. Do they have enough weapons? So I can see their record being there. I think the Giants. I think Dallas is going to be better than 9-8. To be honest with you, I think they'll probably be a 11-win team. The Eagles and Dallas, I think, are about 12, 11-win teams, both of them. And I would think the Giants are about an 8-9 win team, with Washington more towards the 6-7 mark right now.
Yeah, I like the Giants slightly ahead of Washington. I'm surprised the order that he had them in, but I don't know that the Giants are going to make the playoffs this year like they did last year.
I would agree there. I don't know that the Giants are a playoff team this year, but I think they're, in that 8-9, 9-8 area where they're going to be in the mix for most of the season.
Agreed. NFC North, Lions win the division. A lot of people on that hype train. Even their coach the other day called it a hype train, and little perturbed that he's getting as much attention as he did last year, and he had to do Hard Knocks to do it. But he's got the Lions winning 11 games, only one less than the Eagles. Bears 7-10, Packers 7-10, Vikings 7-10. My, how the mighty have fallen. Minnesota goes from 13 down to 7. That's a pretty big drop. I'm pretty much in accord with what he's saying here, other than I think 11 is a little high for the Lions. I think they're the team to beat in that division. I think the Bears are the second best team. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lions are getting a little too much hype, but I think they're a pretty good team still in a division that just doesn't have a lot of teams that push them. The Minnesota thing's interesting. They won 13 games last year. Nobody believed in them at all. Okay, they proved that they weren't as good as their 13 wins said, but are they going to drop from 13 wins to 7? I mean, that's a pretty big drop. I know they lost Dalvin Cook, but the team is pretty much in place here. I think 7's a little low for Minnesota.
Smith. They lost Adam Thielen. Dalvin isn't the only guy that they lost going into the season. They're definitely coming back to their pack.
I think they come back. But 7, I think, is 13-7 is a pretty big drop for them. Green Bay is such a wild card with Love there, but I think 7 is probably a good number for them. And the Bears, everybody seems to like the Bears, but no one's picking them to win anything. It's like, oh, we like Fields, but nobody thinks they're going to be any good. I think the Bears at 7 is probably high for them, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody's got to be, you would think, someone's got to be the team that's way out of the pack. I mean, so I'll go Chicago lower than 7, Minnesota probably in the 8-9 range. Green Bay's tough. I think Green Bay is probably going to be in that. The 7's a good number there, and the Lions at 11 is probably pretty solid.
Little high on the Lions, but they should. They are the favorite in that division.
Well, you're going to win a bunch of games in your division, you would think.
Right. You got. They're all going to go 1-1 against each other. I'm not sure that somebody's got to be the best team in that division. South, he's got the Saints and the Falcons tying at 9-8. Last year, the division was won at 8-9, so it's 9-8 this year. Yeah, maybe the addition at quarterback lifts the Saints to the division. That's the way I'm leaning. Falcons improved. Panthers, Bryce Young's rookie year, 7-10, and the Bucks. Sorry, Tom Brady's retirement does take the starch out of them. 5-12. It's going to be a tough year in Tampa. Any issues with the South?
No, I mean, I think the Saints are the best team. They have the clear best quarterback, the most established quarterback, so I'll give them a slight edge. Their defense is pretty good. If you remember, Eagles fans were watching the Saints a lot last year because of that draft pick situation, and they were winning games towards the end of the year, and you're like, come on. So I think the Saints are probably the best team there, so I like them around 9, I think is fair. I don't know that the Falcons are quite there yet, so Falcons 7 and the rest I think are in pretty good spot. But the Falcons offense is starting to get some pieces. They just got to get the quarterback play now.
If Bijan Robinson is all that in a bag of chips, they do have a chance to take a run.
And the Pitts kid is really good. The receiver they have, London, he's solid.
Agreed. All right, and out west, San Francisco winning at 11-6, same record as the Lions, second best, only the Eagles in the conference. Seahawks 7-10, 10-7. Excuse me, your top wild card team, which is where I have them as well. And Rams at 7-10, and the Cardinals at 2-15. Oof. Sorry, jeez. Jonathan Gannon, 2-15 this year. So he also goes about and picks the playoffs. I give you the NFC real quick, and then I give you the AFC. NFC playoffs. Wild card, 49ers beat the Falcons. Lions beat the Cowboys. Oh, sorry, Cowboy fans, out in the first round again. Seahawks beat the Saints. Lions beat the 49ers in the playoffs. Eagles beat the Seahawks. And then the Eagles beat the Lions in the NFC Championship game. So it's Philly, Detroit, and the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl. All right, real quickly on the AFC. I won't even ask you to comment. I just want to run through it to make a point. Bills 13-4, Jets 12-5, Dolphins 11-6, Pats 7-10, Bengals 12-5, Baltimore 11-6, Pittsburgh 11-6. That one comes as a bit of a surprise. 11-6 for the Steelers. Okay. Browns 10-7. Man, that's a killer division. Browns in last place at 10-7. Jags 10-7, Tennessee 8-9, Houston 6-11, the Colts. Sorry about that, Shane Steichen. 4-13.
Jeez.
Two worst teams in football are the two Eagle former coordinators. West, Kansas City 11-6, Broncos 10-7 in the mix for a wild card. Chargers 7-10. What the hell they pay Justin Herbert? $262 million last night. If he can't get above 500, make the playoffs at 7-10. And the Raiders, 3-14. The Raiders could be worse than Steichen and the Colts. AFC playoffs. Bengals defeat the Dolphins. Chiefs defeat the Ravens. Jets defeat the Jaguars. Bengals defeat the Chiefs. Ooh, Kansas City out. See you later, Andy Reid doesn't even make it to a championship game. Jets defeat the Bills. And in the championship game, the Jets defeat the Bengals.
Wow.
Which means we've got an all-green Super Bowl. Eagles versus Jets. And I don't know if you've heard it, Mike Gill. That is my prediction for the season. Apparently, this guy has been listening to my show on CBS Sports Radio or tuning in at Birds 365 or WIP the last couple of weeks. I've already put good hard-earned money down on a Jets-Eagles Super Bowl for this year. You're a South Jersey guy. You get New York residents down there. You surely get a whole bunch of Philadelphia residents. How good would it be if it's the Jets-Eagles in the bowl? Well,
the Jets thing it would be amazing considering, their fortuitous past that has not been so great for them. No, it would be a lot of fun. Aaron Rodgers getting back to the Super Bowl, maybe for his last hurrah here. Man, could the Jets – I said this a lot, Jody. The Jets defense last year was a Super Bowl defense. They were a Super Bowl level defense last year, and they won games with guys that no one has ever heard of playing quarterback before. So would it be far-fetched? Absolutely not. No. And I think that would just be a tremendous I like the Bengals still. I think the Bengals last year, I thought they were the better team than Kansas City. So I like the Bengals. My Super Bowl would be the Bengals and the Eagles right now. But the Jets getting there would be a great story for this region. And be a lot of fun for 2 weeks, wouldn't it? Where is it? Vegas this year.
Vegas, yes. Jet fans and Eagle fans together in Vegas.
That would be great.
It would be loud. I can guarantee you that. It might be a little nasty, as a matter of fact, because they're both raucous fan bases. That would be fun. All right, Mike Gill, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for sticking around a little longer with us than usual today with Johnny Mack out. Appreciate you picking up the torch for us, bud. You got anything coming up on the Sports Bash this week that we need to promote?
I'm actually off Friday. I'm going to Pittsburgh, PNC Park, to watch the Phillies for the weekend out there.
Isn't that one of the greatest parks in Major League Baseball?
Tremendous, yes. It's an awesome place. So I'm going out to Pittsburgh to see the Phillies this weekend. What's today? Wednesday. Man, we do our football at 4 every day. So if you're a football fan, we talk football every day, 4 o'clock, football at 4. And tomorrow at 3 o'clock is Sal Pal.
You're going to suck McMullen into joining you today at 4 if he's done with all of his Eagle responsibilities?
Not today. I told him we'll take the summer off and then we'll get ramped back up once.
I thought since the Eagles reported, McMullen was reporting back to you as well.
I'll text him.
All right, get him on that show. Make him pay you back. Mike Gill, always a pleasure. Thanks, buddy.
All right, Jody. Thanks, bud. Mike
Gill from the Sports Bash here with us on Birds 365. All right, like I said, not Mac and Mac today. John McMullen down at Eagles training camp for their first gathering, their first activities, their first practice, if it's actually a practice. So no Mac and Mac. It was Mac and Mike to start. That would be Mike Gill. Thank you much for jumping in. Up next, it's Mac and Mark. Mark as in Mark Farzetta, Farzy from the Farzy Show right here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel on YouTube. We get Farzy involved. He'll hang with us for the rest of the show today. Rob Motti from the Associated Press is going to be in a little bit later in hour number 2. But hour number 1 continues with Mac and Mark. Farzetta joins us next here on Birds 365.